Hello and welcome back to Explaining Acro. I'm Ben and this is Cassandra, and today we're going to be covering some beginner-friendly acro tricks. You don't need to have done acrobatics before to do any of these things, but we do ask that you practice accurate self-assessment and appropriate safety precautions. We're going to walk you through everything that you need to know.
This first trick is a great one to surprise your friends.
The way this trick works is the flyer is holding themselves up on the base's arm, and the base is doing a one-arm row. In order to get used to these positions and these concepts, we find it helpful to do this little partner row variation that's a lot safer because the flyer's head is not pointing directly to the ground and we're both holding on to each other. So to start, we're going to be facing each other and we're going to grab arm to arm. The flyer can grab with both arms if they like, but here the base is still holding on for security. I'm going to think about stepping well past the flyer so that the center of mass of the flyer is near my center of mass. If she's going out just here, I'm gonna get like pulled over and I'm not gonna be able to hold her up. So we have this nice grip. I'm stepping past the flyer, letting her go down. I can let my shoulder blade come out here and then I'm gonna row back up. Once you've done that first progression once or twice and you're not taking any steps and it feels super comfortable, we can move on to the trick itself. So as a base to start, I'm going to take my hand and put it basically anywhere on her head. I'm not actually squeezing her head at all, so the placement doesn't matter.
Flyer is here. We're going to grip the wrist of the base, wherever that hand is. And it's really important that we grip it hard and then we engage our arms, our shoulders, and lats, and along with the whole body, because the tighter we are, the easier it's going to be. And then our grip here, this is the only thing holding us up from hitting the floor. It's not the base holding us, it's actually us doing the work. So really grip that wrist and pull it into your head.
As we start this, we're gonna go really, really slow and controlled. So I'm going to cheat forward again so that she doesn't pull me, and we're gonna start to lean really slowly. I can even use this other arm to control her descent. We can pause down there and then pull back up. Again, if this is difficult, I can use that other arm to assist. Over time, we can start to add some speed or even walk into it to make it look more dramatic. Once you've got the basic skill, there are tons of opportunities for creativity. We've seen this done with a hand to the face, holding the flyer's hair, and even with multiple flyers at the same time.
Flyers, one of the most common things we see with this is a lack of body tension. And it's really important that we stay as tight as we can in this skill to allow us to stay attached to that base's wrist and off the ground. So I'm going to show you one where I'm not squeezing and what that might look like.
The next trick that we're going to cover is called flag. It allows for us to create some really beautiful lines with our bodies, and we've incorporated some variation of it into basically every photo shoot that we've ever done together. Before we get started with flag, I want to take a second to talk about some safety precautions. So the flyer is going to be leaning out from the base. If there's not a spotter there is a very real risk of them falling on the ground, so you might want some mats or pillows there. I do recommend working with a spotter if you have access to one. They're primarily going to be concerned with keeping their arms near the flyer's hips and shoulders so that they can keep them off the ground. If things go bad, you just grab the shoulders, pull up, and you can like gently help them fall so that their head stays off the ground. To get started with flag, I'm going to get real close with my flyer. I like to start with a hand on their back for stability, and then I'm going to take the leg that's closest to them and present it.
Flyers, the leg that we're going to be standing on is the one that we want to put right next to the base's foot, and sometimes even standing on the base's foot a little bit. And here I just want to have a nice straight leg. I like to put my arm behind my base just because of the closeness. This helps give stability. And then I offer my leg to them with a flexed foot.
I'm grabbing the ankle, either this type of underhook grip or with the thumb, kind of depending on the relative proportions of the base's hands and the flyer's ankle. As we get ready to slide out, I'm making sure that the leg that is farther from the flyer is far away and that I'm able to start sitting into it. I'm going to transfer the hand from the flyer's back to the top of the flyer's thigh.
Flyers here, we want straight legs. We want to really engage our glutes and lock these hips in. And as we do that, we gently lean out.
I allow her to lean out. I'm keeping a lot of weight in that back leg so that I don't get pulled over.
Flyers here, we're engaging those glutes, engaging our core, and we're stretching our fingertips away from the base while they're gently pulling us the other way, making us that counterbalance.
To come back up, I'm going to give a gentle pull and receive the flyer.
Flyers, we stay tight as that pull happens, and it just brings us back to the base. Flyers, in this flag shape, we really want to ensure that we're keeping those ribs down and keeping our glutes squeezed to avoid arching or piking. Because in this flag shape, any arch is going to make us kind of unwind or fall backwards. And same thing with breaking in the hips. If there's this pike, we might fall forward or our hips might pull us back. So it's really important to stay tight and engaged in that plank position. Next, we're going to show you a counterbalance that allows flyers to base and bases to fly. And in fact, it works better when the larger person is flying in this skill. For this skill, bases, we're going to be having the flyer on our thighs as we lean back, pushing the hips up, knees over our toes a little bit, and we're going to be holding this shape with the flyer on us. Flyers are going to start on the ground, and they're going to lift their feet up, and I'm going to help them into a candlestick position to allow me to get my legs into a good spot. So we go up, and for me, I like to put my knees around the butt and the thighs of the base or the flyer. For me, in our proportions, I put mine just a little under his sit bones, but that's gonna be dependent on your size of your flyer and your base.
I'm reaching around the back of the flyer shoulders, and I am really flexing my feet in order to hold on.
Bases here too, we are also really squeezing down on the legs of the flyer, also locking them in.
Here, I'm thinking about just two things. I'm keeping my head tucked so that if things go backwards, I'm not hitting my head into the ground, and I'm squeezing my abs really hard and making sure that I'm not sitting up or arching as I get levered into the position.
And now bases, this is one of the most important parts to protect your body. We want to make sure our hips and feet are about the same distance, and we want to externally rotate ever so slightly, just creating tension in the hips and the knees and preventing the knees from sickling in, because that can cause the skill to go side to side and also potentially injure you. So with those legs slightly rotated out, I lean back, keeping my core tight, pushing my knees forward and pushing my hips up to help balance the flyer.
It's going to feel like really hard on your abs here. That means you're doing it right.
And then you can put your arms out. And then to come down, I grip the feet.
I'm keeping my head tucked.
And I slowly stand up to allow the flyer back to the ground safely.
This last move is a dance lift that we call rewind. It works well either as a standalone trick or as part of a larger sequence. To get started with the rewind, we want to break it down into two different parts. The first part involves getting the flyer into that bird on shoulder position. So as a base, I'm going to start perpendicular to my flyer, and I'm going to have an arm around their back.
Flyers, I like to start with my arm closest to the base on their shoulder, and then the foot closest to the base is going to step first. And I'm aiming to step in between their legs and maybe even a little past that. And then as I step, I'm thinking about kicking this other leg up and over and thinking about getting my hips to the shoulder.
As the flyer comes through, the opposite hand is going to come underneath that hamstring of the leg that's closest to me, and I'm going to use both my arms to help lift the flyer up and onto my shoulder. Since we're pausing in that position, the arm that's on the back is going to transfer to like stomach and kind of just below the chest muscles in order to help the flyer stay up.
Once we're here, flyers, really think about lifting the chest, squeezing the butt to get the heels up, and then you can bring your arms out to the side.
Yep. Well, let's practice this a few times until it starts to feel comfortable. To come down, we can just squat a little bit and let the flyer come to their feet.
Once we're feeling comfortable in this bird position, we can start to work on the exit out. I think about bringing my hands together, and I think about diving them to the left hip of the base. And that's going to help with the flipping and the rotation out of this trick.
As she does this, I'm taking my right hand from that kind of chest area, and I'm reaching it between the shoulder blades, and I'm going to help push and support her as she does the rotation.
Flyers here, as we're reaching, we also want to tuck the head, which will help us flip. And we split the legs. That bottom leg touches the ground, and we step out.
Once we've worked on that exit a few times, we can start to speed things up a bit. And even start to skip the shoulder altogether.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Please give us a like below and subscribe to the channel for more content. Leave a comment below which skill was your favorite, and we'll see you next time.
So like get the knees in a good spot on me, but don't push them forward so that I don't come up.
I feel like that's just my technique at this point.
Yeah, it's like sitting back instead of driving the knees forward. There you go.
Is that what happens?
That's one thing that can happen.
Yikes.